think I can't see Srini, but everyone else is here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming along after a long, hard day so far. So we got, first of all, thank you to Amy, she will come and join us soon, for arranging this. And we are going to start with Mr. Oko. I don't think he needs an introduction to anybody. I have to be honest with you, when Nikki told us about the sleep apnea in breast patients, I had no idea. When I joined the first meeting, after that meeting, I was in convert actually, to be honest with you. And I was so impressed, how much we don't know about it. So Mr. Oko is going to give us a brief talk on what's the impact of sleep apnea in breast cancer patients. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Hi, well, I'm Michael Oak. I've actually worked in UNHT since 2005, so probably longer than most. When I first came to Nature, there was no sleep service. Absolutely none. You had to go to Nottingham, Cambridge, or Leicester to get a review, which is a 4-hour round trip when you're falling asleep at the wheel. Probably not a good idea. We've run the service for 18 years now. I was also asked by Andrew Lansley to be on the Department of Health Working Group for OSA to try and standardise services in the UK, because it's like it did. Wherever you live, variable service, variable access. And now we're doing some stuff with ENT UK. I'm the ENT UK representative, which is the kind of representative body of all ENT surgeons in England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. And it's an all-party working group, so there's peers and boards as well, because the issue we have is awareness at a very high level to actually invest in services and understand that these have significant impacts on people's quality of life. Next slide, please. That's my credibility stuff. So, overview, I just want to briefly discuss cancer and sleep, OSA in particular, which is my forte, some of the physiology behind it, results and impact of poor sleep, cancer and OSA, the anatomy, consequences, assessment, treatment, and opportunities that we have to actually make a difference and change. Next slide, please. Can I have a show of hands? Who does on call?
Fortunately,
None of you do on call. Oh my gosh. You must have done on call in your training.
I want to choose the right specialty.
But does anybody remember anything bad that happened to them after being on call?
Just tired.
Just the fatigue. And in the younger days when I was an SHA, we used to do 1 in 2 on call. Every other day. Yeah. And we used to do when I was in general surgery. We used to do 3-day weekend. Friday,
I did as well,
Saturday,
yeah.
Sunday,
Yeah.
4-hour ward round on Monday morning, then a breast clinic in the afternoon, and then you could go home. So I think all of us have experienced kids, mums having young babies, husband snoring, sleep deprivation, fatigue, near misses, brain fog, brain's not as clear. You get through the day, but and also it takes away from your family life. You get home, you're so tired that the kids want to play, the wife wants to watch a film, you're supposed to have a meal, and you just, I'm working tomorrow, I'm going to sleep. So it takes away from your life. Next slide, please. Fountain of youth. We can all dive into this every single day. You should aim for about 8 hours. Ideally, a third of your life should be asleep. Should be. And there's no money in this. If you don't have a sleep disorder, it may be that you're on your mobile phone, it may be other things you're doing that actually take away, we've got this TikTok generation now, average usage of phones 6.5 hours a day globally. We're all kind of distracted. There's some buzzes of dopamine that we get from the reward of scrolling and Facebook and things like that. And the consequences of this are profound. Next slide, please. Meta-analysis, 32 million patients, shows that OSA patients have a 1.5+ chance of having a cancer. There's a 50% increase. And that's the main take home from this, compared to if you don't have sleep apnea. Also, we know that sleep apnea shortens your telomerase length. This is very important in the fidelity and reproduction of DNA. So you're more likely to develop cancerous cells because your telomeres shrink in size. Next slide, please. People think, oh, go to sleep, oh, nothing happens, it's a waste of time. Actually, your brain lights up in different areas. If you think of your brain as like a furnace that's burning about 24% of all the calories it ingests. Like any factory, it produces some waste products, which have to be cleared out. And if you don't clear these out, you will pay the price. So, in only deep sleep do you actually get rid of tau and all these toxic proteins like amyloid, which we now know are associated with the dementias. And then, only in 2013, 10 years ago, discovered the lymphatic system. This is amazing. You know, like, only 10 years ago. And that in medicine, we know that's nothing. A decade is, it's only filtering through to a lot of clinical specialists now. But the implications of what we do and how this knowledge can change what we can do with the stuff, the existing tools we have, is quite interesting to think about. REM, if you don't get REM, you can't remember the lesson. If you don't sleep well before, you can't consolidate it. You don't sleep well that night afterwards. This is very important for young kids, because obviously they're learning. When I was growing up, a phone was something that was at the end of the road, and we used to share it. And your friend would have to call you a certain time, no number, and eventually people had a phone in the house, on the wall, and now you've got this little computer in your hand, which you give to your child. So, immune responses. If you vaccinate people, and then everyone's like, well, they don't respond this way. Simple one. Your heart rate at night. It should go down by about 10 to 20%. So you look at it, well, it doesn't sound that much. 72 beats down to about 62. Ends up to be nearly 5,000 beats in an 8-hour sleep. One night. Remember, your heart only breathes in diastole. So if you think about it, you do want to rest that heart. When we're born, we have so many billion beats, and then we're all done. Don't want to waste them at night. We didn't need to. Muscle repair. Usain Bolt sleeps for 11, 12 hours a day. Amazing. All the professional athletes are coached on how they eat, they sleep, they do everything else because there's money involved. Next slide, please. So, generally, you should sleep about 8 hours. That's a WHO recommendation. You should spend about 25% REM, about 25% deep, and about 50% in light. This is a hypnogram, so if you think about sleep, it's like diving into a pool. So you're awake initially, you go light sleep, you go deep sleep, then you come up for a bit of REM, you go down again, up again. It's usually about 4 or 5 REM cycles. Each one gets a little bit longer as you go through the night. This one, it's not so good actually. 20% in REM, 60% in light, and only 12% in deep. So this is not a good study for the patient. Next slide, please. I was saying, the lymphatic system, it's just a game changer. I'm just amazed it took so long for us to discover this, why we haven't actually looked at the practical implications of this in what we do. So, this will only work if you get deep sleep. If you don't get deep sleep, you can't benefit from it. Next slide, please. Blood pressure. I take antihypertensives. If you take your same dose of antihypertensive at night, you have a 50% chance of not dying and not having a massive heart attack or stroke. Same dosage, just take it at night. It's based on 19,000 patients. So just, what's GPs just like, well, take your amyloid in the morning or whatever. No, even if it's just like all GPs were told, all antihypertensives should be given in the evening. That, at one stroke, would improve the outcomes for the same drug that we're paying for now. A 50% benefit. Statins. You produce more cholesterol at night. So short-acting statins have a window of opportunity to really bang the cholesterol down. So again, just changing the dose, timing, chronobiology, long-acting insulin. One of the common ones I see is in ET sessions, people with acid reflux. If you're on your PPI, take it 1 to 2 hours before you cook your evening meal, and then that, evening meal shouldn't be more than 4 to 6 hours before you get back. If you take it like that, the same dosage, you get the maximum therapeutic benefit. Because when you're recumbent, when you sleep at night, that's when you get the reflux. Some anticoagulants as well are known to be more effective if you take them in the evenings. Next slide, please. So the potential implications for cancer. We've got rhythmically expressed genes that come out at night, which we are not benefiting using. So maybe this is explaining why the antihypertensive works so well. It could be a combination of different, I don't know all the answers, but chemotherapy at night, has anybody thought about doing that? Actually, somebody has thought about it. They've done experiments in mice, which do show that they're looking at different molecules, xerotonin pigmentous A. They could repair damaged DNA 7 times quicker at night than during the day. So the ability just to repair. Now they get those little tradesmen, those little toolmen that come out that fix things for you at night, and we ignore it. Or we didn't know they were there. Should we think about radiotherapy in the evening? When the patient goes to bed. Could that have just changing what we do, using the same tools we have to different timings, could it have an impact? Ensuring that we actually ask people, are they sleeping? I mean, if you've got a cancer diagnosis, you'll have anxiety issues anyway. Anybody's had a cancer scare, obviously you can understand where they're coming from. You give you insomnia, but you have an underlying sleep disorder as well. Maybe changing your times won't benefit you unless we fix the sleep issue. Next slide, please. You all know this, you're a breast cancer team. 1 in 7 women, which is it's high. That's very high. And the scariest thing is going to go by 23% over the next 15, 20 years. If you keep doing what you're doing now, how many staff are you going to need? Is it possible to expand this much? And then 23% of these are preventable. So maybe investing in prevention, maybe a better plan. And then also there's a common poverty. If you're poor, life chances are never as good. And where we work, there's not poverty, social deprivation, obesity. We all know this. You are where you are. I've been here a long time. It's a great place to be if you want to see pathology. But if you want to fix the population, you have to kind of wider view. So as a responsible clinician, you don't want to just keep doing the operations. Why are we doing so many? Could we do them better? Could we rethink how we do things? Next slide, please. Breast cancer and obesity. They're less likely to come forward. They don't do as well in any intervention. Higher chance of recurrence. Chemo is not effective. Endocrine not as effective. And this is the one that shouts to me. If you're obese, 5 years ago it was 55%. If you're not obese, it's nearly 80%. This is down to 25% here. I'm just saying this is so massive, it's almost like another intervention in itself. So I think that's so important that for you guys, that you say, well, we've got to be doing something about that. Next slide. It's also associated with endometrial cancer and melanoma. There have been very good studies on this. Next slide, please. I have a colleague in Leicester, she was telling me that she's routinely operating on ladies who are 150 kilograms. Routinely. This is not a surprise. I just wonder what's going on here. And the main finding here was that half the women in each of the cancer groups are found to have at least moderate sleep apnea, and 1/3 had severe. So these are high anesthetic risk patients. Their prognosis is not as good. they're more likely to get more cancers, and then the story continues where you've got the rise and rise of the multi-morbidity. You got cancer, you got sleep apnea, you got diabetes. Which one's going to kill you? Or is it a collection of all of them kind of slowly dragging you down and eventually killing you off? Next slide, please. Melanoma, this one started. There's a slide I'll show you later about. Sleep apnea will kill you by itself if it's severe. After a 12-year cycle, it will kill 15% dead. 33% will have a stroke or heart attack and not survive. This is severe OSA, untreated, and melanoma. Almost not compatible with life over time. If you look at the normals, and then you look at treatment with sleep apnea, you find out, okay, here's your low AHI, less than 10, it's good. OSA with good therapy, it's almost as good. Without CPAP therapy here, severe is there. So you can clearly see that this is a clear example as an independent variable. OSA will kill you if you've got melanoma by itself. You've got the two together, you've got virtually no chance. Next slide, please. Common sleep disorders. Insomnia, very, very common. Common sleep in the UK. We're all anxious, we're all worried, things on your mind, job, bad boss. I know, I'm doing. But stress at work, everybody, managers say, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to get through this, I've got to do my appraisal, we all have temporary something. OSA is just going through the roof at the moment. Since I was a registrar, obesity rates in the UK in females have trebled. It's 1993. And in males it's quadrupled. This is within my short 33-year career. So, and in Lincolnshire, we have the most obese population in Europe. Yeah, you want to hunt fat, you come to the right place. This is where it lives. We only have about 10% on treatment. We have about 4,700 on treatment. Women present differently to men with sleep apnea. You don't complain with snoring, because the husband doesn't hear it. He don't care, he's asleep. So she presents with fatigue. I'm just a bit more tired. Then you rationalise, oh, I'm going for the change. Oh, busy with the kids. And I'll just drag myself through it and just put up with it, and put up with it, and put up with it. If your husband snores, he will annoy you, he will wake you up, he will force you to go to the doctor. But you need to look after yourself as well. Now, restless legs. Restless legs is one of those areas that I feel very anxious about what we know and what we don't know. We know it's a dopamine disorder. There's so many treatment modalities out there that we don't really know what we're doing with. I do have some personal experience with a person I know very closely had restless legs. And he used to have this habit, just walk around and stuff, it's good. He just like, get up, keep moving. He's 63. He's now got dementia and is in a care facility. Gone. Doesn't recognise his own system. This is somebody I know personally. Next slide, please. So here we are, the super fat. I live around here. The closer you get to Peterborough, the worse it gets. The fatter we are. Yeah. And you can see this is 18 plus. It's just going mental. It's just, what are we doing? Associated with sexual deprivation, we know that. You come to Lincolnshire, you sorry, Council House, and then you come to Lincolnshire to relocate. Retire. So it gives you the aging population as well. Next slide, please. This is what I was showing you, talking about earlier on. Since 1993, look at it. It's just men, and then women as well, just going through. Women starting off fatter, but we're catching them up. And I can only see this trend go upwards over time. Next slide, please. So, anatomy. I'm a head neck surgeon, and obviously this area interests me. And if you look at, this is more of a normal actually anatomically, if you look at Afro-Caribbeans, we tend to have a larger tongue. Remember, hypertension in Afro-Caribbeans is much earlier, more severe. Nice protocol is you treat early. This could be why. So basically, as you go to sleep at night, it flops back, blocks your airway, and you get the apnea. That's the obstructive apnea. You do have central apnea also when your brain fails to send messages, but that's usually 1%, unless you associate it with brain tumors, fentanyl, and these central acting depressants. So they will affect that as well. So you've got the anatomy, but also when you go to sleep, remember your autopilot. The ALS takes over and you're gliding. You're totally dependent in your vulnerable moments and your autonomic nervous system kicking in and doing the right thing. It'll always try to protect you, including giving you very frightening dreams. I'm drowning, I'm being chased by a bear. Something wakes you up. That was the one. Yeah? It's very distressing for some patients. Sometimes they get acid reflux and stuff like that as well. And it blocks the larynx because it goes into laryngospasm and you will sit bolt upright. You will believe you're about to die. And then slow, and you can't actually breathe at that time. You have to wait a couple of seconds until your CO2 rises. And then your larynx relaxes. And do that a few times, you will go and see the doctor. Next slide, please. So key symptoms, loud snoring. It's also common, it smells like a pig, it's a bear, it's an animal, separate rooms, all that stuff like that. Nocturia. I've had patients coming in and out of bed 8, 9 times a night. Excessively tired, irritable, not clear in the morning. Memory and concentration. The BMJ is quite a nice thing to put. Some causes of backwardness and stupidity in children. But if it's a kid, remember children can have stuff like that. How can they focus in class when they're not sleeping well, so they're hyperactive? They get diagnosed with ADHD and give them some Ritalin, which is speed. So, you know, I only get about 100 referrals for PEDS a year for OSA. And there's going to be like 14, 15, 100 a year that should be referred in. So where are they going, or they're just not going anywhere? They're not in a referral pathway, or people don't think it's that serious. If you've got a child asleep right now, you'll video that child. You'll distress you. You should show it to the doctor, because nothing describes when you see a child sucking for dry air and you're lying next to that child. You cannot ignore it as a parent. So depression, if you're tired all the time, you're struggling through work, you feel like it's treacle, and every day it's just not making progress. It's not surprising to get depressed. Impaired quality of life, and for men in particular, if a man has lost his sex drive, he's not a well puppy. Yeah? And if you're a woman and you don't feel that way, are you going to be in the mood? Are you sure? It's like, all I want to do is go to bed. Failure to thrive in kids, and later on, dementia, obesity, hypertension, strokes, and diabetes. All things to look for. Next slide, please. If you don't remember anything I say today, just remember this slide. It's a beautiful illustration of how from head to toe, hypoxia through sleep apnea can damage you substantially. Stroke, mood disturbance, daytime sleepiness, hypertension, coronary artery disease, AF, coronary arrhythmia, CCF, sudden death, 30% of cases. And also, you know what, if you treat it, you save your healthcare costs 50% within 2 years. This is good business. If I was an insurance company, I'd take them all on. Take the premium, save money. But surprisingly, in the UK, private healthcare doesn't do this with that. In America they do, with a company called Insignia, it's fully funded. It's one of the things we want to do with the OSA working with the challenge of private insurance market. Well, 22% of people actually have private insurance. We can't put everything on the test. We want some of the profit, we do some of the work. So that's going to be bad. I'm sure they'll be looking forward to it. Okay? So just look at this picture. Just think think of all the things that could happen to you if you don't sleep well, and you have a daily oxidative stress, which is crippling and killing people. Next slide, please. So this slide I put up here, this is kind of standard sleep study, and if you look at this patient had an AHI, apnea, hyperapnea, each apnea is at least 10 seconds. And this patient had about 71. RDI is respiratory disturbance index. It's roughly about the same. That's when your brain lights up and says, ooh, you should wake up. And then if you look at this trace here, you can see the oxidative stress here. This is an oximeter. And you see it crashing down here, here, here. And you notice that's actually in REM sleep. These are REM cycles, so your apnea is occurring in REM. Okay? I call this, the tachycardia is not so well demonstrated, but if you see desaturation with tachycardia in REM, that's your guy. That's the fingerprint for what I say. And also what it does is, because you're being strangled through the night, you spend a lot of your night in light sleep. So you're not allowed to go deep. So you can't dive into that pool of eternal youth. Next slide, please. So, we look at it, nice guidance. Everybody's allowed 5 apneas. You're allowed 5. 5 to 15 is mild. 15 to 30 is moderate. And you see, don't just look at the core number, because there's some people I've seen who have got an AHI 26, but they're absolutely fatigued. They can't work. And I've had other people, AHI 55, I feel fine. So not everybody presents the same way. And also remember, a sleep study is as good as night was done, and there's something called the first night effect. So if you're a bit anxious, or you put one here and then you say, oh, is it on properly? Oh, we've got to use to adjust this, and then you spend all night faffing around. You didn't sleep, and the sun comes back and says, oh, you're okay. AHI is only 6. So you've got to use your clinical judgment with the result, with the patient discussing what the best modality of treatment is. Next slide, please. So how does it work? Basically, it's developed by a guy called Sullivan in the 60s as a temporary solution for airway collapse. And you wear a mask, and it blows, it's a air pressure wave that blows all obstacles out of the way. So if you have enlarged tonsils, prominent tongue, polyps, it's a very smart system which auto-senses the pressure in your airway, and it compensates so the airway never collapses. You don't have any apnea. I use CPAP myself. The last I had 0.5 apnea over 8 hours. So the key thing is, it does look a bit Darth Vader-ish. It doesn't look exactly the kind of sexy kid you want to get on. But no, unless you're that way inclined. But it will save your life. And some people complain about wearing masks and things like that. I like scuba diving, for example. So I think, put like a scuba diver, put my headphones on, put my CPAP mask on. Gone. It's the sleep is, it's like standing on the edge of the pool, waiting to dive in and not initiating. I'm about to go, but you don't. So these are very effective therapies recommended by NICE. So the best thing about NICE technology is actually you don't have to overthink it again. If it's a NICE technical assessment, the NHS has to fund it. It's not a debate. It's in the NHS constitution, and this document calls Who Pays, which is very insightful if you're looking at what you do and find out who is actually financially responsible for it. Because at the end of the day, everything has to get paid by somebody. So when I set up the sleep service, I went through all the combat of initiating an over service, getting contractual agreements in place, how you price it up, blah, 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 blah. But it's very important that if you're running a service, you're aware of clinically what you need to do, but also managerially what's required for you to receive the funding and growth. Because you're facing this steep face of amount of work that you're potentially going to have to do. You better start asking for the money now. Recruiting staff. How many staff do you have now? How many do you predict over the next 10 years you're going to need? You're still going to be here. How many more years before you retire? A few more, right? So a few more. I'm going to just say you can see within your career lifetime what we're talking about today is going to be different for you, and if you don't resource your department properly, it's going to be a problem. Next slide, please. So yeah, we won this 2008 Service Transformation Award. We repatriated all the patients who were in Cambridge, Leicester, and Nottingham, brought them back into Lincolnshire, then started treating them. When COVID hit, they decided actually to boot us off our ward and put all the COVID patients there. And then afterwards they decided to put oncology there. So we had to go to a virtual platform. It's very doable, and in Australia they do it. And patients here love it actually. I'll show you some slides later. So, first consultation for 6 weeks. As you know, I can fast track somebody under 7 days if required. If asked me to send a specific email, I will get that patient on seen, assessed, sleep study done, and onto therapy within 7 days. Okay? Particularly if they're coming up for a surgical procedure. So if you just, when you're doing the referral, please CC me and tag it in case somebody is away. I will always pick up the email, because you know sometimes there's glitches in the system. So we take the history, sleep study at home, returned. If it's positive for sleep apnea, send the nurse out to your house, set it up in your house, in your bedroom, so you know how it all works, and do the most important thing, mask fitting. It's a very, very personalized thing about what kind of mask do I like. Oh, I can't wear this. If you've had a near drowning experience, for example, you can't wear a full face mask. You feel like you're drowning again. So you have little nasal ones and other things like that. It's a very personal thing, and unless you get that one-to-one with a specialist nurse to say, how do you feel about this? And you'll try to put pressure on to see that you like it. So once you spend the time investing, actually getting them happy at that point. And remember, my average age, the commonest demographic is 60 to 65. So I'm not dealing with young kids. And 60 to 65 years are variable levels of technical ability. Connected to the Wi-Fi, do all these other things like that. And so, you know, it's not everybody's up to speed, so we do not assume anybody can do it. So I have about 4,700 patients on therapy, 80% compliance. Compliance is important to define because if you have sleep apnea, you need to report it with DVLA. So compliance is 70% of the time you use the device more than 4 hours. I can sign off. I've had lorry drivers. Nearly everybody gets signed up because you don't have to do the 4 hours straight away. You can do 2 and 2, 3 and 1, 1, 1, 1, any combination of. And then use it Monday to Friday, you can have the weekends off, if you really want. That's the barest legal minimum you can do. I would advise you to use it as much as you can, ideally 6 to 8 hours per day. Next slide, please. So yeah, people love it. 95.5% of patients would recommend this to friends and family, and 4.46% wouldn't. Well, not everybody's choice, but most of the people do like what they get. Next slide. Also, we could do 17,000 consultations remotely a year. That's what we did last year. This is the travel time to Pilgrim or Johnson Hospital, based on 3,444 responses. It's a large sample. And you can see all these journeys are now no longer needed. The NHS constitutes 5.4% of the carbon footprint in the UK. How many appointments are still going on routinely? You come up to the senior doctors to be told you're doing well, when you know you're doing well, you've had to pay for parking, you have to drive there, pay the parking, walk through the corridor, sit down, wait for the appointment to be told you're doing well. Come on. There must be better ways of doing that. It just hacks patients off. If you've travelled an hour 20 minutes round journey, pay for parking, you're not going to be chuffed. To be told you're compliant? The app tells you you're compliant. We actually asked them, I tried to reinstate my face-to-face clinics after COVID. Patients didn't come. So we get everything at home for a couple of years, so why are you going to come to the clinic now? It's like, nah, it's quite o'clock. And we asked them, surveyed them, 3,500 on there, 72.5% never want to come to the clinic. So it's trying to change your clinical practice with your patient support and getting feedback from your patients so you're adjusting to what they like. Look, the other 27%, they go home with it. So it's not every size for every person, but if that, what you want is what we will give you. And some people will need more support than others, so we kind of rationalize how many appointments need to be done at home and how many can be done virtually. Next slide, please. This is what I was talking. This is a study by Marin, this 1995 beautiful study, which shows that if you have severe sleep apnea and you do not use CPAP therapy, over a 12-year period, 15% of you will just die. 33% of you will have a major stroke or heart attack and never be able to work again. But if you use CPAP therapy, you revert to normal. Next slide, please. And one of the biggest impacts we saw in Lincolnshire when I first came here is actually in about 2000, there was over 106 fatal car accidents. That's when the Road Safety Partnership was formed. We formed the sleep service in 2005-2006, started treating people in larger numbers, and when we got to, the numbers started to drop down from 79, down to 51, down to 52, down to 45, down to 47, down to 39. So, and this is consistent, about 38, 39 fatalities a year in Lincolnshire, and each fatality is £2 million. £2 million. So you save 40 lives, but you save 80 million a year. So when you're running your business case, it's some dollars. Next slide, please. Now, if you encounter someone with these patients, I was disappointed actually that they're having issues with actually following the bariatric anesthetics guidelines. We're very, very sensible. They need to stop bang. Whatever operation you do, if you fail on the airway, I'm telling you as an ET surgeon, unless you're able to breach a trachea in 4 minutes, and you're confident, that patient's dead. The anaesthetist like that can't intubate permanently. And unless one of my colleagues or myself is on standby, you're done. And it's negligence to know the history, not to work up the patient, then have an event. Now, it's difficult intubation, difficult maintenance, so senior surgeon operating, fastest guy possible, senior anaesthetist intubating. Don't mess about, get them off, and watch them in recovery. They will give them their CPAP, so she have their CPAP go on in recovery. Otherwise, just go happening. Next slide, please. Yeah, stop bang questionnaire. So this is a really easy one. Do you snore? Are you tired? Observe breath holding. Do you have problems with blood pressure? Is your BMI more than 35? Are you over 50? Is your neck circumference more than 40 centimeters? Is your gender male? And this is a really good questionnaire. I'm sure you ladies have spotted that it's a little bit unfair to you. One, you're not male. Your neck circumference is barely measured because you don't wear ties and shirts like us. When I screen patients, if you're a postmenopausal female, I'll add 1 point. If you've got diabetes, I'll add 1 point. If you've got dementia, 1 point. Heart disease, angina, AF, heart attack, add 1 point, because it's a good screening questionnaire, but it's slightly misogynistic. It doesn't actually balance out. Now, if you notice that in medicine, there's lots of things that are based on men. And unfortunately, that's the detriment of women. Next slide, please. Epworth, great questionnaire, designed in Australia. And it's a good question. And he asks you a series of one, never doze, slight chance of dozing, right chance of dozing, goes up to 24. And above 10 is considered to be like abnormal. Okay? But you've got to remember that you could be depressed and still score highly here, very slightly. So it's not as targeted as the stop bang. I always say working group recommends we use stop bang because it's the more targeted thing. But historically we've always had Epworth around, so we're getting rid of it. So you're probably better off doing both, and then the clinician decides which one's on the table. So If I have somebody with a stop bang of 4, but their Epworth is 18, I take that more seriously than if the Epworth is only 10 or 12. Right? So the two measures give you a flavour of the patient you're going to see. Next slide, please. Referral process. So, okay, if you spotted one, right, what do I do? UHD internal referral process. Choose and book or e-referral system if it's to a GP. Email Sally Booth, who does all the bookings. Very easy, straightforward. Just make sure I'm copied in. So if somebody's on holiday or something like that, one of us will pick it up. Next slide, please. Yeah, insomnia. I'm there for a lot of sleep clinicians. It's a lot of time to work out what's going on with somebody who's got insomnia. And there's great apps out there. The one that's funded in Lincolnshire is Sleep Station. It takes a full history from you. It's interactive. You can respond to it. It asks you to do a diary. It tries to look at why you have intrusive thoughts. What is the thing? Are you struggling to initiate sleep, or are you waking and failing to maintain sleep? And this is a funded app. I've tried it myself. It's quite intuitive. I don't have insomnia, but I thought, well, before I'm talking about that, I don't know what's actually in the app. And it does ask you to stop that questionnaire, actually. It's quite good, and I certainly recommend it because insomnia is one of those lonely journeys that people walk by themselves. And it will, if it goes on for more than 3 or 4 months, it's associated with psychiatric incidents. So it's not a fun game. And anxiety and stresses and other things like that, you have to take them seriously. And I think this is one of the areas where new technology can be driven because they analyze all the data, they feed back to the patient, they give them useful tips. Like if you want to die, you join Weight Watchers, that kind of thing, but it's like Weight Watchers for sleep. Next slide, please. Yeah, it's good. If it doesn't work, or you suspect there's something else going on, probably see a neurologist or psychiatrist. If it's simple stages don't work because what is it, the first presentation of brain tumor or demyelinating disease, so like you don't just offload into the app, say bye-bye, actually you're done. Next slide, please. Restless leg syndrome, let's see. We don't know a lot about it. And the drug companies come with all sorts of drugs to treat it. So quite useful, isn't it? Yeah? To find a new use for a new drug, try this, dopamine agonist, try iron, try this, try that. I think the key thing is trying to find out why does the person have these symptoms in the first place. Said long-term prognosis, it can predict 10 to 14 years ahead with somebody ending up with really quite serious neurological disease. So it's one of those ones that skeptical that we know enough about it, and that we're treating it really well. And certainly this is one of the ones that my personal experience is close to my heart. And I just think that it's so easy to miss. Next slide, please. So there's some nice guidance at NHS. It's actually quite common in pregnant women, third trimester. So it's something to look at there. Obviously, the child is the perfect parasite. Probably sucks the last of your iron and other things you need before it leaves. Next slide, please. So, as I said, so many drugs. Can they all really work, or maybe we just don't understand it and we say, have a tablet. How much is this placebo effect? I don't know. Next slide, please. Yeah, who can ask the questions? Anybody? Has anybody got any questions they want to ask me?
I have one question.
Yeah.
I'm an aquarium oncologist, so a lot of these symptoms come to me by my work.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you one question about, there is a strong relation between obesity and sleep apnea.
Yeah.
I think is the first, one of the major
Yeah.
causes, right? But do we have a part, because as an oncologist, I know the obesity is linked to cancer.
Yes.
But I think we should have a better pathway to refer to someone who's taking care of the obesity, because it's like we are always try to tackle the tip of an iceberg.
I agree.
Because you try to control the sleep apnea. We are trying to prevent, not always, but trying to prevent cancer. But here we have no service about obesity. To when I'm sending my patient to GP, because I put clearly in the letter, you are obese, you need to lose weight, because it will increase the outcome. It's Weight Watchers cannot be.
No, they do
not
have.
be referred to a Weight Watcher.
No, they did have exercise on prescription, which you can. I know it's not an ideal situation, but also
A hospital should have a service.
I know. I agree.
No.
No. What we're saying here is fat is the common denominator in what
Yes.
all
Well,
we're talking about.
Because when you talk about endometrial, there is a Christie trial, only reduce their weight. The grade 1 endometrial disappear. Pre and post biopsy.
Yes.
Pre biopsy and post surgery.
Yeah.
Only losing weight, and they even do surgery. You know, the bariatric surgery for obesity. The cancer disappear.
Yeah.
So we know that. I'm very glad that you are probably one of the one who's try to say no one among the oncology. We need to tackle
Fat.
the fat. Yes.
Fat is the enemy. Different causes of why the
Yeah.
fat comes on board. As I say, sedentary life, the way we eat, there's all sorts of things. But the key thing is we have to shrink this gap.
Yeah,
Because-
absolutely. I agree.
And if you think about bang for buck investment in obesity services in the most obese population in Europe
Yeah,
would
no,
be
it's
all.
here. I always
Yeah.
put in the letter. We should. I always also when I saw your very interesting data. It could be reversible
Yes.
if you lose weight.
Yes.
Exactly. It's the same as cancer. We should prevent these.
Yes.
You know,
we
to
invest in
turn-
prevention rather than actually
Exactly.
treating all the consequences. This is my point.
We should go to the trust and say.
I know,
"Come
but
back
there's an
to
interesting
that."
thing with sleep apnea as well. If you don't sleep well, you produce more ghrelin.
Yes.
So you're hungrier than a bear.
And you
And
eat
you
more.
can beat me if you want, I'm eating that cake. You know? So you've got to understand that if you don't sleep well, you're going to be hungry anyway.
They don't understand how much money they can save. Since they hear about money, we
Yeah.
should go to them and say, we should spare these only
Yeah.
if they are losing weight.
Yes. Look, my viewpoint is taking this actually to Parliament. Because you talk to your local manager, you're wasting your breath. You're going to say they've got
Yeah,
a business model,
commissioner. We
blah,
should
blah,
go
blah.
with the price because the only thing they look at is saving money.
Yes, this is what I'm saying.
This is the only language that they listen. They don't listen to
Exactly.
anything
So
else.
it has to be at a higher level,
Yeah.
at parliamentary level, at a House of Lords level. One of the things I'm going to do with them, I've offered the whole House of Lords a sleep study.
You know,
Yeah.
my patient, there are some who follow the advice on the diet and the life changes completely. The outcome changed completely.
Yes.
I've seen myself, I witnessed myself, even they sleep better, they breathe
Quality
better.
of life is better.
Is completely different outcome.
Yeah.
Just thank you, Mike. It was a lovely talk and very detailed one as well. The reason why, like Nikki, Jonah, some of us has already got involved with the sleep project.
Oh yes.
The East Midlands is piloting, is that
Yeah,
right?
but
Piloting a sleep project for cancer patients because it's proven that the survival outcome is poor with the sleep apnea, obesity, everything is interlinked, aren't they?
Yeah.
So what we were planning to do, so what we have done so far, I don't know how many patients we got already, but yeah.
I don't know how many patients we've actually assessed, but we've obviously, since Mike introduced the project, we're now doing assessments at pre-assessment for stop apnea PHQ-9.
Yeah.
We did test it at diagnosis, but that didn't work at all, just massive anxieties for the patients.
So the referral system, like Mike said, is pretty quick, and a lot of these things can be done remotely, which is actually helpful for our patients for sure, because they've been back and forth with the hospitals with many other appointments. The good thing about that is basically a lot of them actually falling into that moderate, not so urgent category. But in the longer term, if they get referred to sleep apnea and clinic, and then they get the help from Mike's team, their survival might be better. So what we are going to do is prospectively we are going to collect this data and have a look in 6 months' time to see where we are, and then we can present it in our East Midlands Cancer Alliance group to say this is the prevalence, this is how we intervened, and how effective the pathway is. I was thinking about getting the profile of retrospective, profile of existing patients. The only question is, if you ask the patient whether what's their BMI, will they be able to answer?
But the BMI is already calculated pre-existing.
Yeah, you need to.
I do understand, but if you do send out the questionnaire, they might not be able to say that, would they?
No.
Probably they will be able to give us the height and weight.
Height and
Probably
weight, you can
modify that question
calculate.
into two,
But-
so that then we can calculate the
Yeah, another thing we could do is, as I discussed before, is like, I've got a database of all the patients I've
Yes,
treated.
it is.
So if
You
you
need
can
the-
cross-reference with your
Yeah.
NHS numbers on your database, I can tell you
How
how many of
you
your
want it to be.
people are already
Exactly,
on CPAP.
retrospectively, you need to use the
Yeah,
database.
because
So the only problem is, like you already mentioned, the symptoms are very non-specific. Feeling tired,
No,
if they are not aware of it, they might not get.
I'm just talking about, let me look at people I already know I have.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, how
And
many
compare
of them develop cancer and what is the outcome?
yeah.
This is the first retrospective analysis that you need to do. From there, you do the prospective.
Yeah, because we can look at what's trending, what pops up from there,
Yeah.
and I've got the data.
Yeah.
You've got your data. Mine sort of goes back a little bit further, but it doesn't matter. The thing is with Excel,
Yeah.
you do digital subtraction and match.
Sure.
You find out, pull out those ones, and then
Yeah.
just have a quick look at that. This is rough and dirty, but gives you a quick idea and oversight.
Sure.
So we're all within the same trust, and we can kind of share data about how we care for our mutual patients, because they're in my department and they're in your department, and what's happened to these people?
Sure.
Have they done better on CPAP? Have they done worse on CPAP? Are the good compliers doing better? We have this data. Like I said, I've got 4,700 cases. You must have a lot of cases, and there must be a Venn diagram of overlap.
Yeah, but you need to have also be careful within the metastatic and adjuvant.
Yeah.
The first thing you need to decide are they receive chemo, yes or no? Hormone, yes. There are a lot of confounding factors that need to be taken in.
I agree, but the first thing is patient recognition.
Yeah.
We can
Incident.
match.
Incident.
Is there any data to show that tackling the obstructive sleep apnea without tackling the obesity changes the incidence of cancer as well as outcome of cancer?
It doesn't really work that way, in the sense that if you look at the melanoma study, what they did is looked at whether you're using therapy, because a lot of the time they look at on therapy compliant using well, on therapy not using well, or they look at not using at all. And that's when they look at that, they don't actually say, oh well, if you use CPAP, do you lose weight? A lot of people use the therapy and they actually don't lose weight, but they're not having the same physiological stresses on them any longer. So what the underlying thing behind this is oxidative stress. Fat will just go on every organ, pad your airway, block your air off, it'll give you the oxidative stress. The sleep apnea just counteracts it by a simple pressure wave. It stops the oxidative stress. So your question is interesting, but there is not a specific answer.
Can I ask you, that was interesting to know that obesity in Lincolnshire is highest in Europe.
Yes.
Yeah, does that corresponds with the incidence of OSA as well? Presumably,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a straight line, obesity and sleep apnea.
Goes
straight
side
line.
by side.
Straight line.
In fact, even more specific, Boston is the.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned Peterborough.
No. I've been working at Pilgrim, which is Boston. Yeah? Is the epicenter, is the black hole of the disease. Yeah?
Yes, indeed.
I got one more question.
Yeah.
How reliable is the Apple Watch to monitor your sleep?
It is indicative. I'm a smartwatch as well. It does heart rate, oxygen saturation, ECG and stuff like that. But I also have a sleep max as well. Even though I use therapy, because I'm obsessed with tech and everything else. It's good that people are now looking at their sleep patterns, how much time you spend in light, how much time you bed, how much you eat. It's indicative, but the only real word is getting from a sleep study. But you see, the thing is, it will log how many hours you actually slept. It will tell you whether you were getting less than 4 hours, how many times you woke up, blah blah blah. And the stages style of things is, remember, sleep diagnosis was pricing at £4,500, £5,000. for a proper kit, your watch is not quite. But actually, Samsung or one of these companies has just had an FDA approved watch for apnea, and that's this year. So it will be coming from the States, and that one will be medical grade. So it will be pricey, but it will give you very accurate results. And you can only see technology really kind of eating into this area. You know, the amount of information they have from your phone about what you do every day, which you wouldn't give to the government, but you've given Apple, Bezos, and his friends. These are the people who have data. Things, big data is great in the sense that it can use AI to analyze large swathes of data. You know, look at these big, they know you're on your phone 6.5 hours a day. They know that. That's good business. Yeah, and you see over time, Facebook goes up, TikTok goes up, and they're all fighting for your clicks. So as they're fighting for your clicks, and the more people who use these watches, imagine the billions of points of data they're gathering around the world.
Any more questions? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. I'll leave you to your deliberations.